Hey, it's Tacoa Manning. I've been reminiscing this morning with a dear friend, and I was reminded of part of my journey, and I found myself in the early 2000s abandoned by my husband at the time, deathly sick. I had lost every title, everything I owned. My pets were euthanized. I was too sick to work. I lost my job. I lost my savings, my home, everything. You name it, I lost it. I was an empty shell of a person. And there was a season where, before I moved out of the house I had bought as a single mother, that I was slurring my speech, falling, waking up in the middle of the floor from seizures. I would pass out from pain, and I would wake up and pray to God. Like Job, mark this day on the calendar when they said a girl was born and name her Bonnie Ruth. Remove it. My life was bitter darkness, and I was a empty shell of a person in excruciating pain and suffering, and no one came. There was a season where no one came. And so the darkness was so dark, I could just feel it and taste death. It was probably a year and a half later that I went to a conference, wobbling in with a cane, and a woman prophesied over me. And she told me to, well, actually, it was more than that. It was a couple years later, but she told me to write down the date and count 6 months, and then I would not recognize my life. And at this point, I had been homeless for a year. I was waiting for disability. I was getting better, but I wasn't whole. And I remember writing that date in my Bible, and weeks would go by, and I would look and I would say, God, nothing has changed. 6 months later, on that date, I moved into an apartment. I started receiving back child support. I received my disability. And I remember thinking about the lady's words, because she said, you will not recognize your life. And I thought, well, things are much better, but the way she worded it, it caused me to wonder. And about a year later, one morning, I woke up in my 3-story house, and I got dressed, and I went to open the car door of a brand new Dodge Challenger to drive to City Hall, to the mayor's office, to teach a Bible study at the community with the chief of police, my new husband. And the Father whispered in my spirit, and he said, remember the words I spoke to you. He is not a God that lies. What he says he will do, he will do. And I did not recognize my life. My life had changed so drastically that it was just as my mother had spoken at my birth, that the Father told her to call me Ruth. And I had met Boaz, and I was stepping into my callings and my assignments. And soon after that, my husband started releasing the books I had stored in my computer on my journey of homelessness. And for whoever's watching this, I want you to know that no matter how dark it gets, no matter what you're going through, he sees you. He sees you, Hagar. He sees you, Naomi. He sees you, Ruth. He sees you, and he has a better plan. And if you'll just hold on and wait upon the Lord, he will renew and bring restoration to your life. Blessings.